All right, and then for the second half of this assignment, the next two are going to be looking at the actual texture of the brushes themselves. So for soft brush, one of the really nice examples for this is actually in the default brushes that we get with Adobe. So if you go to General Brushes and then you go to Soft Round Partial Opacity, these ones you're just looking for where instead of it being like this full mark, like with hard round, how it's that solid mark all the way through, you're going to be looking for brushes that have that very gradual transition between those shades. The nice thing with these is since they are already really softly textured, it's going to allow you to have quite a bit of control over that shading just naturally, and is going to allow you to get very soft blending while still using a brush tool instead of a smudge tool. So I'm going to just keep going between my eyedropper and my brush tool, and then as I go through, it allows me to get those really soft transitions, and I'm not really doing anything as far as like having to do like certain mark making. I'm just doing like vertical strokes on this. It's kind of a nice quick and easy way to look at blending where it takes very little work from you, very little effort, and it's going to be really easy overall. And it can be a nice one where, again, if you do really like those softened effects, but don't really like the smudge tool, this can be a good alternative to that smudge tool. And then texture brushes are kind of similar. Instead of it being a very soft texture, instead what you're going to look for is your really textured brushes. So a lot of the like charcoal and graphite ones are really good. So like if I look at this one here with the HB pencil, how I see a lot of kind of like grit in between. These can also be nice ones when you look at blending, in the sense that you're going to have just some natural change in texture anyway. You will probably want to play with your opacity as well, just depending on the overall settings. But another nice one where since it is an automatically textured brush with a lot of that kind of interference within the mark, you're going to get kind of nice soft transitions anyway. The nice thing with these too is it does allow you to get kind of those nice soft transitions with a lot less work and still have some of that kind of like mark making quality that you get with some of those rougher brushes. So it can be a nice one, and does allow, again, those really smooth transitions. You may want to play a little bit again with opacity and adjust as you need to on those. Some of them you won't really need to, but some of them you might. And then as you go through and finish that up, they're pretty easy to use. It makes the blending really easy. Does allow kind of nice quality, but lets you preserve some of that texturing. So these ones can be fun. And these ones you kind of just have to look for them in the packs overall. Alrighty, and then the third one that we're going to look at is the mixer brush. These are going to be the other brushes that we've been avoiding. You're going to look for the paint brushes with the water drop. So if I go with this one, and essentially with these, they are made for mixing and shading your values and your colors. They're nice in the sense that they're usually very, very transparent. They're usually kind of nice as far as kind of marquee texture. And then depending on the transition that you're going with, you may have to do more or less layering depending on the one you select. But they're a nice one in the sense that they do give you a lot of just kind of those inherent nice blendability without a whole lot of work on your end, which can be beneficial and makes it a little bit easier. Something that can be helpful with these is, since they are mixer brushes, it can be helpful to go back and forth between those two shades. So instead of just going in and eyedropping this initial shade, I might also want to eyedrop that secondary shade. Because you'll notice as I'm like going in and I'm filling this in, you'll notice a little bit of that haloing sometimes of those initial lines. And then if you're getting that and you go back and you select that mixed value and then you start to blend back that other way, it makes it a little bit less noticeable. So it can help with that initial transition. And it's not bad too, because you're going to eventually end up selecting that next shade anyway for this sheet. It is something that you'll kind of get in the habit of selecting back and forth on. But it can be a nice one. It does allow, again, kind of that nice easy shading, allows you to retain a little bit more kind of material-based texture that people have a tendency to like with some of these brushes. And then, are easy to use in the sense that you're not having to do a whole lot of effort on your end. A lot more of it is kind of letting the brushes work for you, but allows you to get kind of those nice soft transitions between those shades. With the one downfall being that you are going to have to go back with that secondary color to avoid those lines. But it can be a really nice option. Some of these mixer brushes are really nice as far as just like different textures, and then matching sometimes the texture that you already have down in a piece, and then being able to apply something that's fairly similar. All right, and then mix and match. This one is essentially thinking of taking two of the techniques that we've done and combining them together. So I could look at going in all with one of my smudge tools and then going in with one of my textured or my mixer brushes later on. And the nice thing with these kind of back and forth between those two different techniques is it can allow you to have a little bit more control. It can be nice, especially where you do have areas that you want either more gradual shading or mixing, or if you are finding that you're having a hard time finding that balance between how smooth, how kind of gradual you want it to be, while still retaining some of that texture. So if I start with my smudge tool, I start to go in and then I realize I would like more of my texture back in, then I can go back in with one of my mixer brushes. And then since I don't really have lines that are happening anymore, then when I go back in, it'll make it a little bit easier as far as that shading. Do watch out though when you do start to work in this kind of mix and match, since you're not working with those levels anymore, kind of get in the habit of eyedropping every now and again, because you will start to notice that. Like for example, if I'm kind of in this area and then I decide I'm going to blend away over here, I'm going to notice that transition. I'm going to see that mark making a lot more. So do get in that habit of kind of pulling back on your eyedropper every now and again. Can be helpful just as you're going through on these and making sure that you're getting that value right and you're not having to undo some of the work that you've already done. But give me a nice effect and does allow kind of more texture, but still very gradual control in your blend, which can be really nice. So that'll be that second half of the sheet. Once you have this all done, you're going to go to File, Save, and then you're going to download that file just back into Schoology for the assignment itself, and that'll be that Stretch and Explore segment for Unit 2. That'll be everything. Holler if you have questions, but you're good to go.